Have you ever stopped to think that the pill you take every day, believing it is protecting your health, may be silently accelerating the weakening of your mind? It's a common scene, the medicine box on the bedside table, pills that seem harmless, routines that become habits. But behind this routine lies a hidden, little discussed enemy that threatens the memory, concentration, and even independence of millions of people over the age of 60. Serious studies from renowned universities have revealed something alarming. Certain popular medications, some sold without a prescription, are associated with an accelerated risk of dementia. And we're not talking about experimental or rarely used substances. These are pills that most people have taken or still take, whether to sleep better, control allergies, relieve pain, or lower blood pressure. Why does this happen? Because many of these drugs directly interfere with the chemical messengers that keep our memories alive, our ideas clear, and our decisions firm. In the short term, they seem to help. But silently, they wear down the most precious gear we have, the brain. Imagine the scene: someone starts forgetting little things, like where they left their keys or a neighbor's name. Over time, these forgetfulnesses turn into bigger confusions, loss of autonomy, and even behavioral changes. Many families interpret this as old age, when in fact the cause may be something that the person themselves swallows every day, believing it to be safe. And here's the most important point: knowledge is prevention. When we understand what these 9 common pills are and why they pose a real danger, we can take action. Talk to your doctor, ask about alternatives, seek natural solutions that protect not only your physical health, but also your mind. The impact of this goes far beyond science. We are talking about the possibility of maintaining lucidity, preserving memories with grandchildren, continuing to live independently and with clarity. Something that is priceless. But, after all, what are these pills that put the memory of so many elderly people at risk? Which of them may be in your home right now? Throughout this video, we will expose each of them clearly, based on studies, and also show the safe ways that science offers to protect the brain. If this warning already makes sense to you, be sure to like this video right now. This simple gesture helps this message reach thousands of other people who may be suffering in silence without realizing the real cause. The human brain is one of the most extraordinary structures ever known: billions of cells, called neurons, connected by veritable highways of electrical and chemical communication. It is these connections that allow us to remember a song from our youth, recognize the face of a grandchild, or simply find our way back home. But over the years, this sophisticated system begins to face natural challenges. After age 60, small changes become more evident. The production of neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers of the mind, decreases. Acetylcholine, for example, which is essential for memory and learning, is no longer released at the same intensity. Cerebral blood flow tends to decrease, carrying less oxygen and nutrients to the most demanding areas. In addition, silent inflammation and the accumulation of proteins such as beta-amyloid further weaken this delicate balance. Therefore, it is normal to experience memory lapses or difficulty concentrating. But beware, it is not normal for aging to completely rob you of your mental clarity. Science shows that it is possible to age with a sharp mind. The problem arises when external factors such as certain medications accelerate this decline, turning minor lapses into serious symptoms. And this is where the danger lies. The elderly brain, already more vulnerable, reacts differently to chemicals. A medication that causes only drowsiness or dry mouth in a young adult can cause confusion, intense forgetfulness, and even dementia-like symptoms in someone over 60. This is because the blood-brain barrier, responsible for filtering what reaches the brain, also becomes more permeable with age. Think of it as a fortress whose walls have become thinner. What was once easily blocked now passes through with ease, affecting areas crucial to memory, reasoning, and mood. Have you noticed how some older adults begin to lose not only memories, but also initiative, the desire to socialize, or even the ability to make simple decisions? Often, the root cause is not just age, but the cumulative effect of medications that have gradually become part of their routine. And this raises an important question: if the brain is already naturally more sensitive after age 60, which pills pose the greatest risk to your mental vitality? Get ready, because now we're going to dive into the scientific evidence that shows exactly how some pills, instead of helping, are accelerating the process of cognitive decline. If the brain is an orchestra, neurotransmitters are the musicians who play in perfect harmony. Each has a function. Acetylcholine helps with memory and learning, dopamine brings motivation and pleasure, serotonin balances mood, and GABA calms the mind. When these messengers work together, the result is a symphony of clarity, balance, and vitality. But what happens when a common medication interferes with this concert? It's as if someone suddenly took away the violins or covered the sound of the piano. The music continues, but it's no longer the same. Small flaws begin to appear, and over time, the melody can turn into noise. This is exactly what many medications do. They block, reduce, or distort the action of these chemical messengers. Some pills inhibit acetylcholine, known as the memory molecule. Others alter the balance of dopamine and serotonin, affecting motivation, attention, and even movement control. There are also those that artificially amplify the effect of GABA, leaving the brain sluggish, slow, and unable to react. The problem is that, for an aging brain, any imbalance is more dangerous. Imagine that the connections are already weaker, and now they receive fewer or distorted signals. The result is a cascade of effects: difficulty concentrating, memory lapses, disorientation, apathy. In some cases, the symptoms are so reminiscent of dementia that even doctors are confused, without realizing that the cause may be the prescribed medication itself. And here's the warning: many of these drugs were not designed to be used for long periods in the elderly. However, they end up becoming part of the daily routine. What seemed like a simple solution for sleeping, controlling allergies, or relieving pain can become a silent trigger for accelerating cognitive decline. That is why researchers have been warning: the risk lies not only in the type of medication, but also in the duration of use and the combination of several drugs. Taking 3 seemingly harmless pills can, together, have a devastating effect on the brain. Now that you understand how these drugs affect the chemical messengers that keep your mind alive, the inevitable question arises: which pills are the most dangerous for memory and which ones do millions of seniors still use every day? In recent years, the use of antidepressants and anxiety medications has increased dramatically among people over 60.
This is partly because old age brings with it emotional challenges: loss, loneliness, changes in routine. Doctors often resort to these drugs to relieve symptoms quickly. But what few people know is that some of them are directly linked to memory loss and the risk of dementia. The main target is acetylcholine, the key molecule in memory. Certain antidepressants, especially older ones known as tricyclics, block this substance. In the short term, they can improve mood. But in the long term, they slow down the brain, causing increasingly frequent lapses in attention and forgetfulness. What about anxiolytics, used to calm the mind and aid sleep? Many act on the GABA system, which reduces brain activity. This creates immediate relaxation, but also compromises alertness. What appears to be a calm mind may actually be a disconnected mind. Research shows that prolonged use of benzodiazepines is associated with up to a 50% higher risk of developing dementia in the elderly. Imagine the scene: a 68-year-old woman starts taking a pill at night to sleep better. At first, it works. She rests more and feels less anxious. But as the months go by, she realizes that she forgets important appointments, loses track of conversations with her grandchildren, and even forgets recipes she has been making from memory for years. The family thinks it's her age, but in reality, it is the cumulative effect of the pill. The most worrying thing is that, as these drugs are very common, the risk spreads silently. Many elderly people take them for years without anyone questioning their effects on the brain. What started as emotional support ends up becoming an enemy of lucidity. And what is even more frightening is that this is only the first category of risk. There are others, even more present in everyday life, that millions of people use believing them to be harmless. Did you know that a simple sleeping pill can affect your most important memories? Few things are as frustrating as insomnia. In the silence of the early morning, when everyone seems to be asleep, the clock insists on marking every minute you are awake. For many elderly people, the solution comes in the form of a small pill on the nightstand, the famous sleeping pills. But what should be rest may actually be the beginning of a silent nightmare. Most of the sleeping pills and sedatives used today belong to the class of benzodiazepines or drugs with similar effects. They work by amplifying the action of GABA, a neurotransmitter that reduces brain activity. The immediate result is sleep. But there is a dangerous side effect. The brain starts to function in slow motion. Attention decreases, reasoning slows down, and memory begins to fail. What few people realize is that this type of medication does not induce deep, restful sleep. In fact, it generates a kind of artificial shutdown. The body rests, but the brain does not reorganize memories or perform the natural cleansing that occurs during the deep sleep phases. This means that, night after night, the brain fails to perform the essential process of memory consolidation. Research shows that older adults who use sleeping pills continuously are up to 60% more likely to develop cognitive decline. And it doesn't stop there. The risk of falls, accidents at home, and even depression also increases. Imagine a 72-year-old man who starts taking a sedative every night. He believes he has finally found peace to sleep. But over time, he realizes that he forgets conversations, loses objects, and confuses dates. Little by little, his independence is eroded, not by age itself, but by the pill he believed to be his ally. And here's a detail that makes the situation even more serious. Many elderly people combine sleeping pills with other medications, such as antidepressants or painkillers. This combination potentiates the harmful effects, leaving the brain even more vulnerable. Now think about it. If even sleeping pills, so common, hide such serious risks, what about those that seem even more harmless, sold in any pharmacy without a prescription? Get ready, because the next group will surprise you. Antiallergics and anticholinergics, pills that many believe to be harmless, but which silently attack memory. Who has never taken a pill to relieve an allergy, flu, or even that persistent runny nose? These medications, sold in pharmacies without a prescription, seem like harmless companions. But behind the promise of immediate comfort, they hide a hidden effect. They block the memory molecule, acetylcholine. This group, known as anticholinergics, includes several first-generation antiallergics that have been used for decades. They work by decreasing the activity of acetylcholine, which reduces symptoms such as sneezing and runny nose. But what relieves the nose sabotages the brain. Without adequate levels of acetylcholine, communication between neurons fails, attention decreases, and memory weakens. And the scariest thing is that many people use these pills as if they were candy, without imagining the risk. Research published in the Journal of the American Medical Association revealed that frequent use of anticholinergics is associated with a significant increase in the risk of dementia, even when used for only a few years. Imagine the scene. A 70-year-old woman has been taking an anti-allergic every night for years because it helps her sleep and relieve her rhinitis. Gradually, she begins to feel more forgetful, more confused. Her family believes it is just her age. But in fact, the cause is that seemingly harmless pill she takes without ever questioning it. And it's not just anti-allergics. Other anticholinergic drugs, used for problems such as urinary incontinence or even chronic pain, are part of the same risk group. They infiltrate the routine without fanfare, slowly eroding lucidity and mental vitality. The great danger is precisely this, the guise of normality. They are cheap, easy-to-find pills, present in thousands of homes. They do not carry the stigma of strong drugs, but they hide a devastating long-term impact. Now that you have seen the risks of antidepressants, anti-anxiety drugs, sleeping pills, and anti-allergics, an inevitable question arises. Are there other, even more common pills that also put the brain at risk? Get ready, because the list isn't over yet. Let's explore other categories of medications, some used for high blood pressure, incontinence, and even pain, that may be accelerating mental decline without anyone noticing. So far, we've seen how antidepressants, anti-anxiety drugs, sleeping pills, and anti-allergy drugs can put memory at risk. But the list doesn't stop there. Among the pills most commonly used by older adults, there are other groups that silently sabotage the mind, even when they seem indispensable for physical well-being. Medications for high blood pressure, some of them, especially those that work by reducing heart rate and blood flow, can decrease cerebral circulation. What protects the heart in excess leaves the brain less nourished. In the long term, this means less oxygen and glucose reaching the areas responsible for memory and reasoning. Medications for urinary incontinence, used by thousands of women over 60, they also belong to the anticholinergic group. They help control bladder spasms, but block the same acetylcholine that is vital for keeping memory functioning. The result? Relief comes at a high price, often invisible.
Medications for chronic pain, some strong painkillers, including opioids, reduce pain perception but also decrease mental clarity. Drowsiness, sluggishness, and confusion are common effects, which can accumulate over time and accelerate cognitive decline. Imagine the scene: a 75-year-old takes daily medication for blood pressure, another for back pain, and a pill to control his bladder. No single doctor sees the whole picture. But in the brain, the sum of the effects creates a perfect environment for forgetfulness, confusion, and even symptoms of early dementia. And here's the essential point: it's not about demonizing medications, but recognizing that combined and prolonged use can be as dangerous as the disease they fight. So, I want to invite you to write in the comments below if you or someone close to you has noticed changes in memory after starting to take any medication. This exchange of experiences can help others notice signs that, on their own, they might never associate with the medication. Now the inevitable question arises: if so many common pills can pose such serious risks, what is the safe path? Continue taking them and risk your mind, or abandon them and face other health problems? It is precisely this dilemma between quick relief and hidden risk that we will explore below. It is undeniable, no one takes medicine for no reason. Each pill carries a promise of relief, whether from pain, pressure, anxiety, or insomnia. For many, these medications represent the possibility of living with less suffering and more dignity. But there is an uncomfortable detail that needs to be addressed: what relieves today may cost dearly tomorrow. This dilemma is even more delicate in old age. The body no longer responds as it once did, and side effects become more intense. A sleeping pill that only causes drowsiness in a young person can cause mental confusion, falls, and memory lapses in an elderly person. An antidepressant that restores energy in the short term can, in the long term, erode acetylcholine and weaken the mind. It is as if there were two doors in front of us. One leads to immediate relief but hides pitfalls for the future. The other requires more patience and care but preserves mental clarity and autonomy. The problem is that, in their rush to resolve symptoms, many doctors and patients choose the first door without considering the long-term impact. After all, who would suspect that the treatment itself could pave the way for memory loss? But the good news is that science does not leave this dilemma without a solution. Studies show that there are safer alternatives, dose adjustments, and even natural substitutes that can bring relief without sacrificing the brain. The secret is not to blindly accept the first option, but to seek information, ask questions, and actively participate in decisions about your health. And here's a powerful truth: it's not about living without medication, but about living with conscious choices. You don't have to give up your quality of life to protect your brain, as long as you have information and dialogue with trained professionals. Now, you may be asking yourself, if so many pills can be dangerous, how can I protect myself without giving up caring for my body? That's the answer we're going to explore next: how to talk to your doctor, what alternatives exist, and how to strengthen your mind without relying on pills that erode your memory. Faced with so many risks, it's natural to wonder, should I stop taking these medications immediately? The answer is clear: never stop taking a medication on your own. Doing so can have even more dangerous effects than the risks we just discussed. The secret is not to abandon medication, but to adjust, replace, or reduce it safely, always with medical guidance. The first step is simple but powerful: schedule an honest conversation with your doctor. Bring a list of all the pills you take, including those that seem harmless, such as allergy medications or occasional pain relievers. Ask directly. Number 1, is there a safer alternative for my brain? Number 2, is there a way to reduce the dose without losing the effect? Number 3, is this medication really indispensable, or was it prescribed just to relieve a temporary symptom? Many professionals are already aware of these risks and can recommend modern options that preserve memory, or even non-drug treatments. In some cases, simply switching from an older medication to a newer version can dramatically reduce the impact on the mind. In addition, there are complementary strategies that can reduce the need for pills. Insomnia, for example, can be treated with sleep hygiene techniques, breathing, and routine adjustments. Anxiety can be alleviated with light exercise, meditation, and social activities. Even chronic pain, in some cases, improves with physical therapy, an anti-inflammatory diet, and practices such as adapted yoga. Imagine an elderly person who, instead of relying on a sedative every night, learns to create a natural sleep ritual: dimmer lights at dusk, light reading, calming tea, deep breathing. Gradually, the body recognizes its own rhythm again, and the brain truly rests. The result is restful sleep without devastating side effects. Of course, each case is unique. But the message is the same: there is always room to question, adjust, and seek alternatives. Do not accept as definitive the diagnosis that your mind must pay the price of medication. Knowledge opens doors that previously seemed locked. And here's an even more encouraging point: science shows that not only is it possible to prevent damage, but there is also a way to strengthen the brain against aging. And we're not talking about expensive laboratories or experimental drugs, but something much closer to home: the food you put on your plate every day. While some pills can accelerate memory loss, the good news is that nature offers a living and powerful pharmacy to protect the brain. What you put on your plate every day can be as effective as or more effective than many medications, without the side effects that threaten the mind. Scientific research reveals that certain foods are true allies against inflammation, improve cerebral circulation, and even stimulate the formation of new connections between neurons. They work as high-quality fuel to keep your memory sharp and your thinking quick. Red fruits, strawberries, blueberries, and blackberries are rich in flavonoids, compounds that reduce inflammation and improve communication between nerve cells. Studies show that people who consume red fruits regularly have cognitive performance up to 2 years younger than their actual age. Omega-3 rich fish, salmon, sardines, and mackerel provide essential fatty acids for the formation of cell membranes in the brain. Omega-3 helps preserve memory and reduces the risk of dementia, as well as improving mood. Cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, and kale contain sulforaphane and other antioxidant compounds that detoxify the body and strengthen the brain's natural defenses against oxidative stress. Turmeric, curcumin, its active ingredient, crosses the blood-brain barrier and acts directly to reduce brain inflammation, as well as stimulating growth factors that protect neurons. Nuts and seeds rich in vitamin E and antioxidants, they help protect brain cells from the damage of premature aging. And the most fascinating thing is that these foods don't just work in isolation. When combined in a balanced diet, they create a real shield against cognitive decline. Imagine the difference: on the one hand, an elderly person who depends on pills to control symptoms and, without realizing it, sees their mind weakening. On the other, someone who uses nature's resources, strengthens their brain health, and keeps alive the ability to remember, learn, and connect with life. Have you ever thought about how small adjustments to your diet can mean years of extra lucidity in your life? But food doesn't work alone. For this protective effect to be even more powerful, it needs to go hand in hand with habits that keep the mind active and resilient. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about now. Food is one of the strongest pillars for maintaining a healthy brain, but it's not the only one. Lifestyle acts as a real insurance policy for the mind. Studies show that people who combine good food with positive habits are able to preserve their memory for much longer and, in some cases, even reverse early signs of cognitive decline. Deep, natural sleep. No medicine can replace the power of a good night's sleep. During sleep, the brain eliminates accumulated toxins, reorganizes memories, and creates new connections. Dimming the lights at night, avoiding screens, and maintaining a regular schedule are simple practices that make room for restful sleep. Light exercise, daily walks, gardening, dancing, or even stretching increase blood flow to the brain, bringing oxygen and nutrients to the areas that need them most. Movement of the body is also movement for the mind. Cognitive activities, reading, writing, learning an instrument, or even solving crossword puzzles stimulates different regions of the brain. It's like weight training for neurons, keeping them strong and active. Social connections, talking, laughing, telling stories, and interacting with other people activates areas of the brain linked to language, memory, and emotions. Isolation, on the other hand, accelerates mental decline. Stress management, breathing techniques, meditation, or spiritual practices help reduce brain inflammation caused by chronic stress, preserving mental clarity. Imagine the difference between two scenarios: on the one hand, a life of pills that bring quick relief but erode memory. On the other, a set of simple choices: walking in the park, dining with friends, reading a good book, that build a protective shield against dementia day after day. And here's something I consider essential: this knowledge should not be kept to yourself. Thousands of people, perhaps even someone in your family or neighborhood, may be suffering in silence without realizing that the medication they take or the lifestyle they lead is weakening their mind. So, if you found what you've discovered so far useful, share this video. It's a simple gesture that can literally change other people's destinies, opening their eyes to hidden risks and accessible solutions. And now, before we conclude, let's bring all this information together in a clear and powerful message. how to protect your mind, avoid the most common mistakes, and ensure a lucid and vibrant old age. Throughout this journey, we've seen a picture that is often overlooked. Common pills, taken by millions of people every day, can be true silent thieves of memory. Old antidepressants, anti-anxiety drugs, sleeping pills, anti-allergy drugs, medications for blood pressure, pain, or incontinence, all of them carry effects that go far beyond momentary relief. They weaken the brain's chemical messengers and accelerate cognitive decline. But we have also seen something even more powerful. Your destiny is not written only in the package inserts of these medications. You have choices. There are safer medical alternatives, there are foods that work as natural remedies, there are habits that can shield your mind from dementia. Every conscious decision adjusting a medication, including berries in your diet, walking every day, sleeping naturally, is a way to write a new story for your health. Imagine yourself 10, 20 years from now. Still remembering your grandchildren's faces, still telling stories that only you know, still making decisions with clarity and independence. This is not a utopia. It is the direct result of the choices you make today. And remember, you are not alone in this struggle. Millions of people share the same dilemma, but few have access to information like this. That is why spreading this message is a life mission. If this video touched you, opened your eyes, or brought important reflections, I invite you now to subscribe to the channel. This way, you not only guarantee access to new content that can transform your health, but you also help build a community of people committed to a healthier, more lucid, and fulfilling old age. Click on subscribe, turn on notifications, and be part of this journey of prevention, vitality, and quality of life. Because your mind deserves to be protected with the same care you devote to your body. After all, memory is more than just recollection. It is identity. It is history. It is life. And preserving all of this is, indeed, within your reach.